In the summer of 1985, I was forced to take swimming lessons, and I hated every minute of it. It was also the summer of M.A.S.K, which was great. But in one of those unfair juxtapositions of life, one of the things I was forced to do that I hated with a passion was going on at the same time that I was acquiring some of the greatest toys of my childhood. The result is that when I think about M.A.S.K, or I see a M.A.S.K toy, or M.A.S.K box art, or the theme song to the M.A.S.K cartoon is in my head, the first thing I think of isn't something I enjoy. The first thing I think of are swimming lessons. What really sucks is that it doesn't work in reverse. If I think about swimming lessons, I don't immediately start thinking about M.A.S.K. In fact, I never think about M.A.S.K. I just keep thinking about swimming lessons. It's not fair. But you're not here to listen to me whinge about my past. You're here to see some M.A.S.K toys.
We gotta get back to the past, to the 20th century. Digging through the bubble wrap into your memories. Back was the collector, he's protecting what we find. Relentless heavy metals keep us safe through time. RetroBlasting.
What's with the show?
Just the corners of your mind. RetroBlasting.
Why?
The stuff you love since you were nine.
Wireless.
Blasting into the past. To see what's real still lasts. RetroBlasting.
Kenner was regrouping in 1985. Star Wars was pretty much done. Their Ewoks and droids lines were more like a last gasp of that galaxy far, far away. Thankfully, instead of dying on the vine with the Dulocs and Uncle Gundy, they changed course, and what we got was M.A.S.K. The most amazing thing about M.A.S.K is the sheer level of detail incorporated into the smaller scale. Most of the vehicles have real rubber tires that actually say Goodyear on them in tiny raised moldings. Some of the vehicles, such as the Thunderhawk and the Raven, have working seat belts. The bodies of the vehicles have the rivets, the panel lines, and even undercarriage details. The vehicles had features like extending cannons, spring-loaded missiles, bombs, compartments, the list goes on. Illusion is the ultimate weapon. That was the tagline, and the toys don't disappoint on that level. Many look like actual vehicles. The Thunderhawk is a Camaro, the Raven is a Corvette, the Manta is a Nissan 300ZX, the Gator is a Jeep CJ, the Hurricane is a 57 Chevy. The engineering of these vehicles is impeccable. The Rhino and the Switchblade are two of the biggest showstoppers in the entire series with their scale and spring-loaded features. Then there's Boulder Hill, the gas station that becomes a fortress against Venom in a series of awesome transformations. Despite the wow factor, there's a lot of criticism about the smaller scale. Many people have complained that M.A.S.K being smaller was frustrating. For one, their scale made the loss of their eponymous masks far too easy. In fact, Kenner sacrificed accuracy in the second editions of the first wave figures just to find ways to make the helmets larger and fit more snugly, with the addition of extended chest pieces with weird holes in them. The other complaint people have about the scale is because of their diminutive size, M.A.S.K toys were not compatible with other action figure lines at the time. The M.A.S.K characters were pretty small, second only to Starcom. Sure, they couldn't fight Cobra, but they could take on the battle beasts. On the surface, I can understand the frustration of Matt Tracker and friends not being G.I. Joe sized. This was the 1980s, the golden age of the 3 3/4 inch scale action figure. Thanks to the success of Kenner's Star Wars line, everybody jumped in on this action. Luke Skywalker could have teamed up with the Lone Ranger, Indiana Jones, Buck Rogers, Duke, and Bo Duke. Not to mention Captain Power, Prince Lotor, Tron, Spider-Man, and Scotty. Battlestar Galactica, Clash of the Titans, The Corps, Star Trek, the A-Team, heck, even Chips, MASH, The Love Boat, and Magnum P.I. That's just scratching the surface. Frankly, the complaint that M.A.S.K isn't compatible with other 3 3/4 inch scale action figure lines is a pretty weak gripe. I think a lot of people forget that when it comes to action figures, there were a lot more lines that were not 3 3/4 inch scale than were. Superpowers, He-Man, Silverhawks, Secret Wars, Defenders of the Earth, Thundercats, Robin Hood, Dick Tracy, Mego, Black Star, Real Ghostbusters, The A-Team, Rambo, Ninja Turtles, Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos, Centurions, David Hasselhoff. On the surface, it's ironic that Kenner, which championed the 3 3/4-inch scale action figure with Star Wars, didn't port that scale over to M.A.S.K. But if you think about it for a second, it makes sense. M.A.S.K is an action figure series that's based around vehicles, fleets of vehicles. And when you put that stamp on there that says, collect them all, a kid has to be able to do that. And if they're G.I. Joe scale vehicles, it's not going to be possible. These vehicles would be almost twice the size that they are now. A kid's going to have a price point on there that they can't afford, and the parents aren't going to want to pay up for. All these sophisticated mechanisms, all of these accessories, the masks, the helmets, the Boulder Hill gas station, all of that would be scaled up. So not only would you not be able to afford it, you couldn't actually collect multiples because you'd have no space to store them. There are fewer things better than M.A.S.K for a toy collection. The chrome accents, the rubber tires, and the cool mechanisms are real showstoppers. But these are also the elements of M.A.S.K that make them difficult to maintain and find in good condition. The chrome wears down, the rubber tires can crack, split, and even rot away. The blades and bombs are easily lost. The mechanisms are extremely complex, and if not stored properly or are exposed to moisture, can garner rust and fail. The springs can lose their tension, making the launchers and transformation mechanisms fail over time. But if you're fearless with a screwdriver, these toys are reparable, and parts are easily sourced most of the time. We were recently given an entire childhood collection of M.A.S.K toys to safeguard, and I spent the last few months cleaning and restoring them to working order. But it was no small task. The line was supplemented with smaller toys like transforming checkpoints and single-packed action figures like Scott and T-Bob. For me, the core vehicles from the first few series are the best, with the Manta from the third series being the market exception, because it was Vanessa Warfield's car, but it was just released late in the game. As you can see, M.A.S.K is a unique and diverse line that shouldn't be overlooked if you're a 1980s toy collector.